So if you don't include the hand them a frickin' Pacquiao video, which is like 45 seconds long, by the way, if you haven't seen it, click off this right now and go watch it. It's absolute peak. But if you ignore that, it's been a good 7 months since I've uploaded. And I've decided to just post again because I'm kind of bored. I just feel like yapping about Fortnite seasons pretty much. Also, just note, a few seasons will be missing because I didn't play during them, so I can't really have an opinion on them. Also, I won't be counting the flashback OG things because I know some people count them as seasons, but they were only a month long and they were kind of just a copy and paste of seasons before that. But with this done, let me get into the rankings. So dead last in my ranking is Chapter 5 Season 2. The other day I saw someone on Twitter saying that every Season 2 is a banger, and I was just thinking, this season literally exists. I think this is a very universally hated season. Maybe the 2 people who enjoyed this season will disagree, but every person I've seen talk about it said they hated this season. Stars, this was a season that removed rarities. That alone is enough to put it in last place. The map was terrible, the loot pool was terrible, it had the wings which were not fun at all to go against. Only decent thing I can say about it is that the battle pass wasn't terrible, and the wing glider is pretty nice. It's annoying because the season about Greek gods is actually a really sick idea, but they completely fumbled it, and for me, this is the worst season of all time. So second to last on my ranking is Chapter 5 Season 4. This for me is another really bad season. The loot pool was miserable, everyone was flying around with OP mythics and jetpacks and a bunch of just other awful stuff, which was not fun at all. Probably my least favourite map ever. There was one location I liked in the Chapter 5 map, which was Classic Courts, and they got rid of it. The season was Marvel themed, so if you're a Marvel fan, that's probably pretty sick. And although I do like a few Marvel films, I wouldn't consider myself a fan, so it didn't really do anything for me. There was also that really bad Doctor Doom event, so yeah. Only thing I did like about this season was the Fortnite metas, which I actually enjoyed quite a bit. It's probably one of the more enjoyable Fortnite metas. They're normally pretty bad, but that only slightly saves it. It's still 24th in my ranking. 23rd in my ranking is Chapter 5 Season 1. If you couldn't tell by now, I was not a fan of Chapter 5. And I think so much of that comes from the groundwork of what this season laid out. Awful map, the loot pool was also very bad. There was an attachment system which I thought just completely sucked and made using guns a lot less fun. There was also the whole medallion gimmick, which was awful, especially on launch. In-game fights would go on for literally forever. They screwed up the movement. They also added a bunch of unnecessary modes. Like, I'm not against Fortnite branching out and trying to do different things. I thought when they added creative in Season 7, that was an awesome addition. But the modes they added are just poor imitations of other games. LEGO Fortnite is basically just a much worse version of Minecraft with LEGO slapped on top of it. Rocket Racing is just an awful racer. There's like a million racing games out there, and they're all better than Rocket Racing. The most tolerable out of them is definitely Fortnite Festival, but I would just rather play Guitar Hero or something like that instead. I'm really not a fan of this whole metaverse direction Fortnite seems to be going in. In fact, if this list was based on how the seasons affected Fortnite as a whole, this would be dead last by a mile. But the one thing that stopped it from being last place is that it was the most fun BR experience in Chapter 5. It was still very bad, but it has that going for it. At 23rd on my list is Chapter 5 Season 3. Again, this season is pretty universally hated, and I'd also say I hate it as well. The reason for me this is the best season from Chapter 5 is that it has all the problems Chapter 5 has, but just on a lesser scale. The map was bad, but not the worst in Chapter 5, the loot pool was bad, but not the worst in Chapter 5, and so on. Also, I thought the car thing wasn't awful, running people over was pretty funny, but this is still a very bad season, but just the lesser of 4 evils. Alright, here I am, capturing the thing. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this loot. Boom! I f***ing kills me, man. What is this bullshit? So we are now above the complete trash tier, also known as Chapter 5. The Tyrian now will be bad, so these seasons aren't completely awful, but they are still, bad. The first season in this tier is Chapter 3 Season 2. If I stopped playing this season in the first 2 weeks, this would be last, because the first 2 weeks of this season were the least fun I've ever had in this game, and it did not help the season before this was amazing. My biggest problem with this season definitely stems from Zero Build. I'm gonna be straight up, I think Zero Build is stupid. It takes away the most unique mechanic of the game and doesn't really add anything in its absence. I really don't see the fun in it. I'd rather play Apex, Warzone, PUBG, Realm Royale before I play Zero Build. They also added the tanks into this season, which were, I think I'd just rather forget about those, to be honest. It was also a very interesting time to release a war season considering the war in Ukraine had just started. The things that do save this season for me are that they added mantling and tactical sprint, which were good additions, and I think as the season progressed it became better, and by the end it was just like fine. Next in the list is the current season, or is it? I don't know. Maybe Chapter 6 Season 2 will be out when I post this, but as I'm recording this, it's Chapter 6 Season 1. I honestly have not played a lot this season because of the OG mode, which for me isn't a good addition. Look, I love Chapter 1, and spoiler for this list, there will be a lot of Chapter 1 glaze. But I'd rather this wasn't a thing. I'd much rather they just focus on making a good season and milk the OG seasons to death. They also added some stupid 5v5 FPS mode, which I just think is dumb. CSGO is free on PC, Valorant is free on PC and console, Siege is like £10 or something. There's no reason for me to play this. The art itself is fine. I think the loot ball is a bit lackluster, but it's okay, and they also have hit scan, which is pretty sick. The map is like way too big, but outside of that, it's okay. Also, massive missed opportunity on not adding Neo Tilted. I think most of my problems with this season come from stuff that came from Chapter 5 and outside of the main BR itself, because the main BR itself is fine, but the stuff outside it knock it down quite a few places. At 19th in this list is Chapter 3 Season 4. I remember me and two mates were in a Discord call waiting for this to come out. The downtime was taking forever, and I said something like, "Lads, I'm tired, I think I'm gonna go to sleep. I'll play with you if you're still on when I wake up, but see ya." So I went to bed, and a few hours later when I woke up, I joined the Discord call, and they were off Fortnite playing Stardew Valley. And they said to me, "This season sucks." And they weren't wrong. For a lot of the seasons I've mentioned, I've said, I like this thing, but I really don't like this thing, and the BR itself isn't that bad, but the thing outside of it is. But that's not the case for this season. My dislikes for this season is very straightforward. They didn't add a lot, and the things they added were bad. They barely changed the map, and the changes they did make were bad. I don't hate it. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good, and that's why it's in the bad tier. The next tier in the list is the mid tier. These seasons are basically just bang on 5 out of 10, and I don't feel strongly about it in any way. And the first season in the mid tier is Chapter 4 Season 2, and honestly this is probably the season I have the least informed opinion on. I didn't play it that much, and I only ever played solos. Also mentioning the fact that I was pretty miserable at the time, and I think those could have definitely had effect on my opinions on this season. Because if I played this with other people and was loving life, I probably would have thought higher of this season. Although the logic can be applied to any season, or any game in fact. But even considering that, from what I remember from the season, it was just mid as hell. It had the katana thing which was cool, but I'm struggling to find anything notable out of the season. Everything just seems so mid to me, to be honest. And next in the list is Chapter 4 Season 3. The map was very forgettable, although they did add that jungle biome, which was kinda cool. I think the loot ball is definitely the strongest part of the season. The flapjack rifle was awesome, to be honest. And the mouth pistol was also pretty cool. But apart from that, I really don't have much to say. This is just a super forgettable season. 16th in the list is Chapter 4 Season 1. The new map was just mid, same applies to the loot pool. The best additions for me are the motorbikes, which are really fun to use and have some great memories when I was either being chased or chasing someone whilst on a motorbike. And it just felt like I was in a movie scene. Also, the augments were a great addition, and I don't even know why they removed them. Although I had some cool additions, it ends up just feeling forgettable and just kinda mid. I guess that's just the story of Chapter 4. We are now in the decent tier. Most of the seasons here are close to being in the mid tier, but just have an extra thing going for them to just boost them and put them in a better light. The first entry in this tier is Chapter 2 Season 1, and this season was probably the biggest change that had been made in the jump this season. This is the first time there was a new map, and over time I've really come to love the Chapter 2 map. They had boats which I think are pretty cool, as well as making a bunch of new features and changes like fishing, water you can actually swim in, completely rehauled the battle pass system. This was also the first season with a proper Winterfest which you get skins and items from, which was awesome. Loot ball was pretty mad, but still had some cool stuff like the bandage bazooka added. After all the positive stuff I've just said, you might be wondering why this is only indecent. That's because this season was ridiculously long. A bunch of cool content got added at the beginning, but they barely updated it. It was so stale and boring by the end, it was just mind-blowing. Also, another complaint about the season is bots. I think bots can be cool. I have amazing memories of me and some mates just queuing up in bot lobbies and grinding levels so obviously you can just talk about whatever and not have to worry about paying attention to the game. But I didn't realize I had a problem with bots until recently when the OG Season 1 came out and there was no bots. The game was so challenging, but yet so rewarding and fun when everyone was a real player, and I generally just think it would do so much good for the game if they just completely removed them. The 14th season in this list is Chapter 4 Season 4. I'm gonna be honest, this season is a cheap copy of Chapter 2 Season 2 and it doesn't even try to hide it. But I love Chapter 2 Season 2, so this season works for me. Loot ball's pretty mere on its own, but the mythics definitely spiced it up. I also thought the new locations made it a lot more interesting. They also had the rocket ramp, which was very fun but still balanced movement item. This season also had Cabby Lame in the battle pass. God knows what reason. Next in the list is the first Chapter 1 season, being Season 9. When this season first released, I hated it. I uninstalled Fortnite and went on the Fortnite bad Minecraft good train for a few months. At the time, I can somewhat understand my hatred for this season. Fortnite was on a generational run, and throughout all of Chapter 1 had been spoiling us with amazing seasons. And I think there was a big gap in quality compared to those seasons and this one. But after all the seasons that have come after this season really wasn't that bad. I do think the map got a bit of a downgrade, but it was still good, and I like the more future aesthetic they were going for. Not sure what to think of the loot ball. It's nearly been 6 years and I still can't tell you if I love or hate the combat shotgun. I think at the end of the day, this season is pretty good, it just suffers from the fate of the seasons before it being far superior. We are now exactly halfway through the list. The season for it is actually very fitting, with it being season 1. Although it's not like this was the very start of Battle Royale because it still existed before this, I think I have to give it some credit for being the first season. The loot pool is pretty simple, but I think just how simplistic and carefree this season was adds to its charm. Considering this is my first season of Fortnite I played, I have some pretty fun memories attached to it. My biggest problem with this season is how empty some of the map is. There's huge sections of the map which are just completely void of anything, but apart from that, it's a pretty good season. 11th in this list is Chapter 3 Season 3 Vibing. And the perfect way to describe this season would be, it's a vibe. Okay, I did the voice recordings for this a few days ago, and I'm going back and like editing and putting the other stuff in it now, and I'm just, why have I said that? It's a vibe. That is so stupid, man. I don't know why I've said that. They didn't add anything interesting to the loot pool, so not much to talk about there, but they made some really good changes to the map. The reality tree was an awesome change. It was a good POI which looked really cool from far, as well as adding personality to the map, which I felt like I kind of lost in the season prior. For some reason I can't find the name of it, but there was a cavern area they changed it to something almost like a theme park, with a massive roller coaster and ballers going through it, which was another awesome addition to the map. The Battle Pass was actually pretty good. It had Darth Vader as a tier 100 for whatever reason, but he was a pretty sick skin to be fair. The season was also in summer, and I just feel like summer seasons hit harder. So the next tier is the Great Tier. These seasons were very good, and I like a lot. There's actually only 2 seasons in this tier, and the first season here is Chapter 1 Season 6. This season was somewhat Halloween themed, which was pretty cool. There wasn't any big changes to the map apart from the floating islands that appeared. This season also had some storyline with the cube, which was interesting to say the least. This season added some good new items like the quad launcher, mounted turret, and most importantly, the quad crasher, which to this day is the best vehicle they ever added to this game. My biggest complaint about this season is how lame Fortnite Mares was, especially for a Halloween themed season. Like, it was not fun at all. But apart from that, it was a pretty good season. The 9th season in this list, and the final season in Great Tier, is Chapter 1 Season 7. The biggest thing this season has going for it is the addition of Creative, which is one of the best things that's ever been added to the game, period. The whole season had a snowy/crystally vibe, which was very nice. The loot pool was pretty fun. I do think the map was a slight downgrade, but it wasn't that big of a deal. The worst thing about this season was definitely the planes, which were not fun at all to deal with. The Infinity Blade was also in the game, which I don't really know what to think of, to be honest. About 20 people at the beginnings of games would just die trying to get it, which is kind of funny because the weapon itself wasn't even that good. The next tier in this list is the near perfect tier. These seasons have little to no faults and are extremely fun the whole way through. Honestly, all the seasons in this tier could swap places with each other, and it was super hard to choose between the seasons. But the first season in this tier is Chapter 1, Season 8. This season was a blast. It was pirate themed, which was pretty sick, and although it sucks Lazy Lake got removed, I think it's worth it considering the whole revamp the top right hand corner of the map gets. This was also when Apex was blowing up, so Fortnite decided to combat that by putting out challenges at the end of Season 8, and if you completed them all, you got the Season 8 Battle Pass for free. Which is a really good move, but for whatever reason, even though I completed them all, I didn't get my free Battle Pass. So, you Epic. This season also added a lot of great new items and features like flintlock pistols, cannons, AKs, buried treasure, ballers, the boom bow, and even more, which I'm too lazy to mention. This season was also when Avengers Endgame came out, so there was a mode for that, which was pretty fun. Overall, amazing season. Man, it's generally incredibly hard to pick between these seasons. But in 7th spot, I've got Chapter 2 Season 3. Honestly, a lot of people I've talked to weren't fans of this season, but I loved it. The most notable change was that they completely flooded the map. I really like that they did this, as it set it apart from other seasons, and made you have to adapt and play much differently. I think the loot pool was a slight downgrade from the season before, but it's still very good, and had some really cool mythics, like Ocean's Burst, the Bottomless Chug Jug, as well as Kit's Shockwave Launcher and Charged Shotgun. This is also the season they finally added cars to the game. I love this season. Next in the list is Chapter 3 Season 1. For me, this is the last time Fortnite had a top tier season. Although there's definitely been better maps, this one was still pretty good. And even though I didn't play at the end of Chapter 2, looking how the map was then, I'm pretty confident in saying this is a pretty big improvement. The loot pool was missing some classic weapons like the Pump and the Scar, but the weapons were still very fun to use, especially the MK7 assault rifle. I also remember there being these weird exotic weapons which were also very fun, especially the boom sniper rifle. I remember lighting up people with that. This season also had easily the best Winterfest ever. The Spider-Man mythics were incredibly fun. This was just the last time I found myself caring about the Battle Pass, and I thought they did a pretty good job with that. Chapter 3 Season 1 definitely has a special place in my heart. The final season in the near perfect tier is Chapter 1 Season 5. This season was incredible. The changes they made to the map were incredible. Oh, I've just said incredible twice. Whatever. As much as I loved Moisty, adding the whole desert area in the bottom left was a great change. As well as replacing Anarchy with Lazy Lake, which was also an amazing location. Also, changing a pointless hill with only a house on top of it to a massive Viking town was pretty sick as well. The amount of top tier weapons and items they added was actually insane. First on the weapon side, they had the compact SMG, double barrel shotgun, heavy sniper, and the suppressed scar, which were all very good viable weapons, and for the heavy sniper and compact SMG are the best in their class. On the non-weapon side, they had the go-kart, rifts, rift to goes, shockwaves, and the grappler, which were all very strong mobility assets. The battle pass was also amazing. I miss when Fortnite would casually put out seasons like this as if it was nothing. We are now in the final tier and the final 4 seasons. This is pretty much my Mount Rushmore of Fortnite seasons, and I would consider all the seasons here to be perfect and wouldn't change a thing about them. The first season here is Chapter 1, Season 3. This is when Fortnite started to get really popular and a lot more people started playing the game. The map didn't change that much, but I don't think it needed to after the big revamp it got in the season prior. And adding Lucky Landing to help fill up a small empty spot on the edge of the map was a nice addition. They added a lot of good new items and changes like the hand cannon and hunting rifle, which to this day are some of the best and most fun items they've ever added. They also added llamas and vending machines, which are super cool. I think it's also important to note that this was the season they added back blings. Also, the Battle Pass, man, I could glaze the Season 3 Battle Pass all day. John Wick, Dark Voyager, Elite Agent, Rust Lord, Best Mates, The Robot, Take the L, Trusty Number 1. Best Battle Pass ever. And one of the best seasons ever as well. The bronze medal of my list goes to Chapter 1 Season 2. They made a lot of changes in this season, so I'm going to get into them. First of all, the map. They fixed the problem which they had in Season 1 with the map being very empty, by adding a bunch of locations. They added Tilted, which is the most popular and well-known location to ever come out of the game, as well as Shifty Shafts, Snobby Shores, Drunk Junction, Haunted Hills, as well as some other good named POIs like the Motel and the Factory Spy Flush. Also, I would die on the hill of Shifty being better than Tilted. They also added a bunch of weapons and items like minis, buggy bombs, the chug jug, impulses, suppressed pistol, and the minigun, as well as completely revamping traps and adding campfires. This season was also the first season during Christmas, and there was just something so special about it. The trees in the middle of POIs with a bunch of chests under them, the grenade launcher being reskinned into the snowball launcher, the supply drops turning red to look like presents. This was also the first season to feature a battle pass, and while I think it's a good system for Fortnite, it has influenced so many other games in awful ways. But more on the topic of the battle pass in the game itself. I think if it was 100 tiers like every other battle pass, it would have been the best battle pass of all time. Black Knight to this day is still the best skin in this game, I don't care what anyone says. There is one thing that holds this season back for me. It's not even to do with the season itself. For the entire this season, I had no one to play with, so I just played solos. I think if I had played the season with other people, it would probably be first, but I didn't, so it's in third. Second place in my list is Chapter 1 Season 4. I remember everyone being hyped up during the build up to the season with a meteor getting close to the map, and when it arrived, it did not disappoint. To be honest, I used to be a Dusty Depot, is it Depot or Depot? Dusty Depot defender, and the factories were truly missed. But Dusty Divot is just a massive upgrade. It had way more loot, and also added hop rocks, which were pretty sick. They also added Risky Reels, which to some is known by another name.
Risky Reels, it was called Rapist Thrills.
Although, while I think of Risky Reels in Season 4, I do get heavy PTSD. It is still a pretty nice location. They also had some awesome weapons like the FAMAS, dual pistols, and the drum gun. Although the drum gun was very OP and pretty hated, personally, I love all those weapons. They also had some other cool items like the shopping cart, which is the first ever vehicle I had to Fortnite, which I guess isn't much of a vehicle, but still is technically one, as well as adding stink bombs, jetpacks, bouncers, and most importantly, apples. They also had a playground, which was such an awesome addition. Whether it be looting up Tilted and 1v1ing your friend, or completely covering up Dusty, it was always a blast. The battle pass itself was really good, and also had some really cool features like the pickaxes you could unlock by playing, and leveling up as well, as sending Carbide and Omega from solid skins into badass superhero and super villain skins. I can't believe they scrapped the system, and now they use some awful super style system. I also want to mention that I'm a proud Omega Lights owner, quick flex. But yeah, this was truly an incredible season. Chapter 1 was just peak. And yet my pick for the best season of all time is Chapter 2 Season 2. Before this season, I've been off Fortnite for a bit. I stopped playing during Season 9, and played a bit in Chapter 2 Season 1. This was the season that got me obsessed with the game again. I don't think the map had a huge upgrade, but made some solid changes to an already very good map. Chapter 2 Season 2 probably had my favourite loot pull out of any season. It had the classic weapons everyone loves like the Scar and the Pump, whilst keeping the good additions they made this season prior like the Flopper, Slurpfish, and Bandage Bazooka. And on top of that, they added a bunch of amazing mythics to the game like Mice's Drum Gun, Sky Scar and Grappler, Deadpool's dual hand cannons, Bruce's minigun, and TNT's Kaboom Bow. I'm leaving out Meowskull's AK because that was kind of mid to be honest. They just did mythics so well this season by making very strong weapons, which were fun to use but still not being extremely broken and requiring some skill to use. The whole spy theme was awesome, being able to disguise yourself was fun as well as shaking people down. The vaults were also very good and have been used in nearly every season since. There's also a kind of random thing to mention, but there was this little ship that would move around the map, and it had really good loot. And it wasn't like a very big thing, but I just think small things like that just made the season so good. The Battle Pass was also awesome, for 2 reasons. One, being the content in it was generally very good, and the second reason is how unique it was. Every skin had its own route you could go with. The tier 1 skin was literally fully customizable, which was awesome, and the other skins had the choice between being Ghost or Shadow, and when you picked one of the styles, you would do a mission in-game related to the character to unlock it. I was always more of a Shadow guy personally, but it just baffles me that they haven't really tried this hands-on Battle Pass system again. To be fair, in the season after this, there was a fully customizable umbrella which was sick. I made a badass duck umbrella with it. The tier 100 skin Midas in this season also had a unique touch, no pun intended. But if you used him, whenever you would pick up a gun, it would become gold. And to add on to that, after you complete the Battle Pass, you could get gold versions of the skins by getting to a higher level, which gave you a reason to continue grinding the game with cosmetics that were still tied into the theme and looked good. I was thinking back on this season a while ago, and how perfect I remembered it being, and I thought, am I putting this in a higher light than it actually is? Was it actually this good? And when the Chapter 2 remix rolled around, it just confirmed my thoughts. Epic cooking up a season this good, and dropping it right before quarantine is the best thing they've ever done. They also added helicopters. I forgot to mention that, but they added helicopters, and they were pretty sick as well. I remember you could kill your teammates if you put them in the storm or multi the helicopter. They were sick, man. Bring them back. Okay, that was the end of my list. I feel like I sounded kind of weird in that, because I was speaking of a script for most of it. I'm not speaking on one anymore, so I can speak more freely. I'm free from my shackles, I guess, but if you liked it, and like, I agree with this, I'm gonna subscribe. Let me know. If you didn't like it, and like, I hate this guy's list, we need to flay him. Also let me know. What do you agree with? What did you disagree with? And right before the video ends, I'm just gonna let this win play out. Change of plan. I was playing copyrighted music the whole time, so I will in fact not be letting the win play out, but here's us. We got the victory. And yeah, thanks for watching.